trained remote viewer, trained in interspecies communication, which is beyond being a pet psychic. And I have a lot of other psychic skills that were developed while I was in, for many years, a very secret program conducted by the US military for mind expansion, human potential, and ultimately to find magic, which is what we teach our followers. Magic simply is creating with your mind and not having to use anything physical to create change. We are currently in the process of trying to see to what extent magic, which would be mantras and mudras, intentions, visualizations, can change what appears to be something headed towards us that is not looking really good. We have 2 eclipses that are coming. I know I'm obsessed with this, but when I was obsessed with what happened in the Gulf of Mexico, little did I know that the accident in the Gulf of Mexico broke through a protective wall between our world and the underworld, which we call hell, and that we are now suffering the consequences. So I wanted to do the horoscopes for Mexico and for Texas. I have no idea what I'm going to say, but let's go ahead and start with Mexico. In terms of the next 90 days, starting from tomorrow, which would have been the 7th of August, for the next 90 days, Mexico is in a situation of extreme danger. Even though the people there may be accusing each other of many different things, wives may be accusing their husbands, employees may be accusing their bosses, political parties may be accusing each other of awful things. The truth of the matter is that unless there is a reduction of the fire element in Mexico, the next 90 days, are starting tomorrow, are going to be living hell. There is too much of the fire element. We know, but we don't associate it. Fire is the food of the devil. When you have an entire country that has too much fire, basically you have an open door to really bad entities, whether they come in from the underworld, from the Gulf of Mexico, or they come from off planet, and we call them aliens. Too much fire is their food. You need to reduce it, and you can reduce it, Mexico, if you use alternative techniques such as the mantra, even though I hate, and my heart is broken, I love and accept myself, reduces fire incredibly, including the fire in your chest that you're so upset at what you see happening around you. The visualization of Mexico underneath a waterfall of freezing cold water, cooling it down, visualizing glaciers all over Mexico. And while you're at it, do Texas also, even though Texas has a different situation. So for the next 90 days, Mexico is in tremendous danger due to the excess of an element which has made Mexico sick. So it's not a question of watching what your political opponent is doing or watching what your ex-husband is going to do or the local thieves in your neighborhood. The question is to reduce the fire so that they don't have gasoline for the kind of activities that we associate with evil and bad. So Mexico, very susceptible to anything associated with evil for the next 90 days. And you can do it, Mexico. You can reduce it. If enough the people use the power of their mind directed at the intention to reduce the fire element. Moving on to Texas. The 2 eclipses are going to be hitting both Texas and Mexico. They crisscross in San Antonio, Texas at different times, one October and one, I believe, in April. That happens rarely in human history. It is a problem. So let me see astrologically what we need to know now about Texas. Texas is an enclave, enclave. I don't think I'm pronouncing it correctly. It is like a center of energies that have come together, having to do with the ultimate battle between light and dark. Well, we're all going through the ultimate battle of light and dark. So what's the big deal with Texas? Why didn't we say that about Mexico? I don't know. I'm just reading. Once I start to think and try to figure stuff out, then it becomes a lot more complicated and I'm no longer as accurate. So let me continue with the reading and let me try not to think, which interferes with being a good psychic. Texas, this is really interesting. Texas has popping up little green triangles. Not in San Antonio. That whole area is kind of like dead around San Antonio. 200 miles around, 360 degrees around San Antonio, we got a huge portal. Okay, so now we kind of have information, we kind of know where we need to work. But outside of that, in Texas, there's tremendous movement having to do with stabilization at an etheric level, which is the Higgs field level. And there's green pyramids popping up all over the place. Okay, so what am I getting? The information I have is mind-boggling. The Mayans knew about this event that it appears that 2 eclipses are coming to either let us know about or to clear. I don't think eclipses come to clear. They kind of bring stuff that you need, and it's usually not such. Eclipses, what they say is, eclipses take away things very quickly that you should have let go of a long time ago. Okay, but that was then. So Texas, the Mayans knew over 5,000 years ago that the final battle between light and dark would be Mexico, Texas. Now, San Antonio has the Alamo, which is where there was a battle, which is where Texas was taken away from Mexico and is now part of the United States. I'm not sure what the history is. I don't know that that battle may have represented. I don't really know. Repeat, San Antonio and 200 miles around it, 360 degrees, is a portal. That has to close. But the rest of Texas is looking good. I'm a little bit in shock at what I'm seeing, but let me continue. When I do this kind of a reading, I never trust myself because the information sounds like too weird. Come on, where did I get that from? Come on. And once I get it out, written or video, and I go back and look at it, I'm still like, eh. And then a week later, a month later, go, wow, that's great information. But when I'm doing it, I'm very insecure because I want to be accurate. I need to be accurate. This is important. Okay, I'm going to continue. Okay. Texas is already self-correcting, but this was a process that was started with the Mayans. That would be over 5,000 years ago. So what did the Mayans see? What is it they intended? And this is like, I have to tell you, this is a very exciting read that I'm doing right now. Very exciting, especially if we could actually know what it is that might happen, that the eclipses are warning us about. Okay, so what did the Mayans know 5,000 years ago? The Mayans. Apparently that whole area around the Gulf of Mexico has been like a landing pad for ETs. There is a very large pyramid in the Gulf of Mexico that's extremely powerful, that if you connect to it, tremendous power. So the Mayans saw that area as an important area having to do with the relation. I'm trying really hard to get out of my own way. This is so important to me that I am struggling to stay clear. And I am going to stay clear. I'm doing the Apana Mudra. 2 fingers in the middle with the thumb, the back of your hands on top of your thighs. It stimulates the root chakra, the lower 3 chakras, and gets you grounded. I need to be grounded. This is very important information. So the Mayans saw that this area, which is like an entry and exit point for the planet, having to do with particular galaxies that are not necessarily our friends. They have been at some point in history and at other points not. The Mayans saw this area and they saw that the grid needed to be very strong in order to be able to protect this particular portal that's in San Antonio. So they weren't trying to close it, they were trying to protect it. The grid that they're talking about is the etheric grid, which is layers and layers and layers of mesh, like grids, one on top of the other, but they all align perfectly. So there's little openings so that the energies flow from one dimension to another. Spirits can't enter. It anchors an energy and it stabilizes. It's the Higgs field. Science has identified the etheric field as the Higgs field. So the Higgs field in Texas is really, really strong. And I don't know why Elon Musk decided to put his spaceships there, but I suspect that instinctively he must have known that. I don't know where his spaceships take off from. If it's near San Antonio, I have absolutely no idea. But that was part of the process of him using that area for visiting other places off planet. I'm thinking because there is also a huge portal in what is Florida. There's a whole band across Florida that has companies, including Cape Canaveral, that take advantage of the fact that it's a there's like a portal there for really good stuff. Brownsville, Texas. I don't know what Brownsville, Texas is. Okay, I'm going to continue with what the Mayans saw. So they fortified the Higgs field in Texas. They did not fortify the Higgs field in Mexico. Why? The Mayans were Mexican, Central American. They weren't Texans. I don't know. Let's find out. Mexico is foundational, having to do with planet Earth. But the energy that's needed now is not foundational energy. It's movement energy. There's a train coming. We need to get out of the way. If that train was coming in Mexico, everybody would be right there and run over. This is not a criticism. On the contrary, everybody knows how I feel about Mexicans and Mayans. This is information, and it makes sense. Mexico is very root chakra. Very root chakra. Root chakra is lots of earth energy. It helps you to stay stable. If you have too much, then you end up stuck. You don't move quickly because you need that stability. So it makes sense. Okay, going back to Texas, and what did the Mayans know? The Mayans, this particular portal is not just a hole. Like it's round. The inside walls of the portal have reinforced Higgs field. So it's like a tunnel for off planet. It's almost like the Mayans lubricated, protected, augmented the power of this particular portal that has to do with movement off planet. It's interesting because I have to give you what I get, okay? I can't start inventing, and I also cannot stop monitoring, because then I need to give you immaculate information, because that's simply my intention. So I have to say what I'm going to say next, which I may lose just because I talk too much. But the choice of where Elon Musk's spaceships are, which I can't remember what he calls them, Starlink. The choice of where to put the base for Starlink Um, there was some arguments going on with Elon Musk, but not arguments with people on the physical dimension, even though maybe they were also there. Arguments with the spirits that were guiding. And Elon did not want to put his Starlink. No, actually, I think that the arguments that he had were human beings alive when it came to making the decision as to where to put his center, where the spaceships leave from. Because the portal is for movement. It would be like building a base in the middle of an expressway. Wow, why would you build a base in the middle of an expressway? Expressway is for movement. Put that base on the side of the expressway, a little bit away from the side of the expressway so you don't catch anything that. So I think there was a bit of a discussion having to do with where Starlink was going to be based. And Elon Musk stood firm, and it is exactly where it is it needs to be. And I'm not trying to win any favor with Elon Musk. On the contrary, maybe he's going to say, oh, that never happened. And of course, I'm going to look really bad. My intention is to give accurate information that I get. I'm not trying to win anybody over with this. So we have Texas that must reduce its fire in the next 90 days, for the next 90 days, or it's going to be worse than hell. Mexico. And then we have Texas that is in the process of a transformation, which I did not expect to find this, even though I'm very happy about it. I do know that I've been obsessed with Mexico and fire, and I haven't been obsessed with Texas and fire. So instinctively, I must have known that Mexico needed more help. Okay, let's go back to the portal. What do we need to know about this portal? What we need to know about this portal is that there are plans by our enemies to shut down that portal, or to have things be so upsetting with a catastrophic event that we basically will not be able to use the portal because our heads will be blown to smithereens by the stuff that's going to happen in the next 90 days. So what did I just say? It appears that there's going to be a catastrophic event that is going to affect us incredibly. It's going to be very damaging. And it is done on purpose to stop the stability that we have, which apparently we gained that stability within the last 160 days. And maybe Elon Musk, if he's ever listens to this, can figure out what happened 160 days ago. Today's the 6th of August. So there's I was going to say earthquake, maybe it's an earthquake, that it's going to be more than an earthquake. Earthquake, tsunami. The future's elastic and plastic. So any really good psychic knows that, and anybody who's used to really using psychics for their business or their companies knows that. And I tell everybody that the future's elastic and plastic. That's why I don't read a lot of future. What I tell people, what is it that you want that you're blocked in? Let's work on that. Rather than telling you what's going to happen in the future, which is what you're walking towards, and then you end up going, oh, you throw up your hands and that's it, it's over. No. You create. So we create. But what's interesting in remembering chats that we have had, and I'm sorry this is taking so long, but this is important to me. And I think it's important to you too, because it's going to be a world event. But generally, it's afterwards that we go, oh, look how interesting, look what she said. But I did predict the earthquake in downtown Manhattan after the 2000 elections. And that was unusual because there are no epicenter earthquakes in downtown Manhattan. That's ridiculous. And yet I predicted it 6 weeks before, and it happened in the time frame that I said and in the place that I said. So maybe we maybe can pay a little bit of attention. And I'm now talking to myself. Maybe we should pay a little bit of attention to what I'm saying. So something happened 160 days ago that made Texas a better place, a more stable place. And Mexico is doing exactly what it should be doing, which is taking on a lot of the extra fire on the planet in order for the rest of the places to have a bit of breathing room. Because at this point in the human history, the Mexicans are not supposed to do anything further for the planet. They already did. They showed us the path for doing the ascension process gracefully and actually completing it. It's a big question mark in astrology, in archaeology. What happened to the Mayans? And they're still investigating. Why did they disappear? They just, from one second to the other, they disappeared. And there did not seem to be any catastrophe or any drought, any crop failures. Okay, recap. Mexico has to take care of the fire, or it's going to descend into total chaos and violence from every aspect, from a kid against the parents, political parties against each other, thieves in the street, whatever, because of the extra fire. It is the fire that creates the ill behavior, the bad behavior, because fire is the food of the devil. The devil comes in mass, and everybody is off base. And if you're a person who would never do anything violent, you're getting the fire anyway. You take it in, you hold it, you repress it because you are not acting out. You end up massively depressed, and all you want to do is die, which is the other side of the coin of excess fire, suicide, or wanting to die. So I think I'm going to let this go right now. And 160 days ago, I'm going to look that up and see if I could possibly figure out what it is that could have happened. Okay? So I think that's it. Not what I was expecting. So I'm going to tell you a little story. I have a friend who has a farm in Ocala, Florida. And his farm is a portal to Kundalini energy, which is the energy of returning to God, which is what the ascension process is. I'm adding up 2 and 2. In a previous incarnation, he was in Atlantis. He was the guy that decided what spaceships could come into planet Earth via the portal in Atlantis. And he bought a farm, and that farm has a portal. So what are we talking about here? Kundalini in Texas? Don't know. But I'm going to find out, and I will let you know. My name is Frances Fox. I was in a secret government program, and all that went on there, which was, a lot of it is unspeakable. Like, I can't share a lot of stories, even to people that I know intimately. It's too awful. And yet, great things were achieved with that, not just for me, but for the other people that were in. If they are able to widen their lens enough to understand that they got these incredible gifts from having been put through that torturous process. So widen your lens. Why are you here at this god-awful time at end times? Why? Why? There's a very good reason. It wasn't because you were dumb. You didn't know better, or you ended up in the wrong neighborhood. Except the fact that you were pretty brave to determine to be here at this time to help anchor end process for planet Earth. And this is the last time. No more trying. The Mexican Mayans were the only ones who left successfully. We're here now. Can we leave successfully like they did? We're missing a little piece of information, which I'm looking for now, and I will share with you when I get it. Thank you for listening. This was going to be 3 minutes, and it ended up being 24 because I'm half Cuban. We talk a lot.